Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Flight Path SDI's podcast about everything uncrewed aerial systems. I'm Christian Sequerra, the event coordinator here at SDI. We're joined today by Steve Ross, Director of Marketing, and Don Heon, UAS Specialist. What's going on, guys?
Much, man. Enjoying the podcast.
Yeah. All right. We got a special guest today.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited about our guest today. This is some really
Why is
cool
that?
technology.
Yeah. And we're going to show it off because I've seen a lot. I'm a gun dude. I've been to a lot of drone shows, technology shows, but just going to his website and seeing this robot drone thing, I was like, holy crap. So, but with further ado,
We're calling
or
it
without
just a
further
robot
ado,
drone
I don't
thing?
know. What's that? Yeah. Is that what we call it? I'm going to do the introduction and we're going to go from there. So,
Okay.
All right.
Go
So
for it.
today we're joined by someone who's pushing the limits of what uncrewed systems can do. Owner of Revolute Robotics, the team behind the Hybrid Mobility Robot, or HMR, a machine that can roll across the ground and take to the skies when the mission demands it. Everybody welcome Collin Taylor.
Welcome,
Pleasure to be
Colin.
here,
All
gentlemen.
right,
Thank you for having me.
here.
How's the day going?
Oh, it's a beautiful day in Boston. I'm an Arizona boy, so we get a little rain over here. It's a good day for me.
Okay. Where in Arizona are you?
I'm originally from Scottsdale. Lived out there my whole life and moved out here about 5 months ago.
Cool.
Or from school, from Christian.
Yeah.
That's right.
There we go.
Yeah, we should hang out in person sometime.
Hey, I am just starting to get into drones. I just purchased a couple of drones. They're coming in the next couple of weeks. So any help I can get is very much appreciated.
Hey,
Christian is actually building like a pretty cool drone little circle around him of drone guys.
I just want free stuff. So, I don't know
As
if
we
you
all
can
do.
just donate an HMR, if that's cool. I'm sure it's not expensive at all.
one day for the students, you can count on it.
There we go. We can make some content around it. But before we do that, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, Revolute Robotics, all that good stuff.
Yeah, man. So I more or less grew up in the drone industry. I worked for my father's company for a long time. Shout out Extreme Aerial Productions. He was one of the first drone service providers in Arizona, one of the first companies to get any sort of flying at night, flying over people, flying commercially waivers. So we did a lot of, it started with just taking pretty pictures of homes, right? And that naturally led into some pretty high scale video. Started doing cinematography for Nat Geo, Red Bull, cool things like that. And then ultimately we started to find our bread and butter with the construction side of things. So surveying, telling you how much dirt you have, where that dirt needs to move over time. And the biggest question we were always asked is, can we take this awesome technology indoors? Once the walls go up, once the MEP, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing goes in, there was nothing to do that sort of unmanned inspections, safer, faster, cheaper. So this is why we endeavored to start a company that could do exactly that. So fast forward a few years, I was finishing up my undergrad at University of Arizona. I met a very talented engineer who basically came to us with this idea and said, hey, I've got a drone that can do indoor inspections, tight spaces, really rough terrain. Do you know anyone who would want it? And of course, a light bulb went off. I thought of the 80 sites I'd been on in the past year or so. And sure enough, I called up a bunch of those guys. The answer was not yes, but hell yes. When can we get this thing? We want to see it. So that was about 4.5 years ago, and we've been riding with it ever since.
Cool. So even before we move on, I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I just want our viewers to just be able to see what an HMR is. Let's see. Let's go here.
It is truly something out of a future sci-fi movie in our lifetime. That's what I thought right away.
We call
this is your website, revoluterobotics.com. So if anybody's interested, check that out for sure. And we'll say that again at the end. But there we go. This thing is the wildest thing I've seen. And I've seen those huge people movers drone things. But this thing is just so cool. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so HMR, hybrid mobility robot, we call it HAMR for short. The idea is it's designed to go where other robots cannot access. So today we've got basically two classes of robots. We've got aerial drones and ground rovers, right? And both very capable, but both have an opposing set of trade-offs. So you've got the aerial drones. These things have great mobility, right? They can operate in a three-dimensional space. They can get places quickly. They can collect data at height. But they're usually pretty limited by battery life, especially indoor drones. You're looking at 10 to 15 minutes of flight time per battery, right? So you can do some short, quick inspections, but larger assets, longer mission times, really difficult to get. On the other side, you've got ground rovers. Think of Spot or Animal, right? They've got really long operating times, really heavy payload capacities, but they can't climb up, certain ladders, ledges, debris, right? So we effectively combine those two modalities into one system. We've got the ability to drive on the ground for long operating time. We get about 80 minutes right now. And we can carry some very heavy payloads, LiDAR, thermal, ultrasonic. But when we run into an obstacle that a rover can't get around, that's when we switch back to flying, right? So you saw in that video us climbing that wall of riffraff. We couldn't get it all the way over the top, so we just popped up, switched back to flying.
And not to mention, like, combining those two technologies together is not a walk in the park. Like, that's a difficult process. And the fact that you've pretty much nailed that, and shout out to your engineering team. They've done a phenomenal job.
Yeah, we've got some excellent folks on staff. You're right. It's not an easy job. There's a reason it's not been done yet. It's been studied a bit in academia, but as you know, it takes a while for academia to yield to industry. So
Yeah.
What was that
that's
process like combining that technology? Did you run into any hiccups that you guys weren't expecting?
how much time do you have?
Right.
Yeah, it was difficult, but we were fortunate to start with a really good foundation. My co-founder Sahan, he's an aerospace mechanical PhD. He basically spent 2 years working for NASA JPL on a similar but different type of hybrid aerial terrestrial unmanned system. And then he spent the next 4 years of his PhD studying all different types of hybrid systems to find the right size, shape, weight, battery capacity, payload configuration for what we're trying to do. So we basically started with a heck of a lot of research, and then that's sort of where I came into the picture of, all right, let's materialize this, let's start building and getting in front of customers.
So you had a lot of research into it. What was the biggest surprise you guys ran into?
Biggest surprise, honestly, is teaching a drone how to behave on the ground. It's one of those things that's just never been done before. So the first impossible task we had to solve was, how do we build this thing light enough that it can fly in the first place, right? And that was about a year's worth of mechanical effort. Once we got the thing flying, the question was, now how do we teach it to drive? And the flying side is relatively easy. There's a lot of open source code you can pull online, but there is absolutely nothing available for teaching a drone to behave in a gimbaled system. And you guys are probably familiar with the challenges of a gimbal. There's always a sort of gimbal lock zone. So avoiding that has been the core focus of a lot of our software development.
Did
Yeah,
it
because
roll?
a drone doesn't know that it's a ground robot when it's on the ground, and you have to teach it that. And so that's obviously the challenge that you've been running into in the past. It's got to be pretty significant.
Exactly. Not to mention its favorite orientation on the ground is pitch 90-degree forward, right? So there alone you have plenty of challenges. But then, estimating and predicting and then reacting to gimbal lock before it happens is a whole other can of worms.
So is this is used right now in inspections and everything, or is still in development stage? Where's that at?
I would say somewhere in between. So we're in the pilot stage. We are deploying with our first round of customers. We're getting on site, doing some inspections. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to share just yet, but we were just on a very large power plant in southern Arizona. And that was one of our first deployments on, truly critical asset facility. So yeah, we're getting in the field right now. The next few months are going to be scattered with a whole bunch of deployments, and this is what we've waited 4 years for, man. This is the fun part.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So what's a bigger challenge for Hammer, or for you guys figuring this, like getting the endurance, the battery life out of it, or keeping the agility part of it?
That's a good question. The agility is there. I mean, with just the motors and everything you can buy off the shelf, we've got the power, we've got the punch. I would say optimizing battery life is the biggest factor for us. So, when we talk about market alternatives, the biggest one for most of our customers is indoor drones. And their biggest complaint is battery life. So we come and we say, hey, we've got a, 80-minute drive time. They're like, wow, that's 4, 5, 6 times what I'm doing right now. But can we do even more, right? Can we go even further? So that's always sort of the main focus for us.
Well, with your taking a step back with your education and your experience with flying drones, uh, you know, obviously having a father that has a drone company, your interest is just going to be there. Um, what did you start with? What did you feel you needed to learn? What was the next steps? Where would one of our students, what's the path look like for them? What should it look like?
I'll tell you this, just start. You're never going to be ready. That's the best piece of advice I can give. When I was in high school, I had an idea I might be interested in entrepreneurship. I liked the idea of working for myself. And, I had a friend who was also in that same position. We decided to start a company just to see if that was something we were interested in. What we found is there's always problems to solve. There's always things that are going to go wrong that you can't predict. And, I just learned that I love problem solving, right? I love I love having the autonomy to make my own decisions. And at the end of the day, if I make a mistake, that's on me, right? And if we succeed together. So, that's one of the things I learned just from starting a process. We were like, it doesn't matter what company we start. What can we do? We sold streetwear because we figured we could sell it to our friends. When we started this company, I mean, yeah, I had the drone background, but I did not have a big background in engineering. I could tell you maybe, 5 of the 30 components or so we have on the drone. You just learn over time, right? You just start, you do what you're good at first, and you slowly fill in the blanks. But, I tell you what, the fear of seeing if we could do this, it's crippling, right? And even still every day, it's like, am I cut out for this? I don't know, but damn it if I'm not going to try. So that's
Yeah,
the best.
you're navigating untreaded waters, so it's a whole new
Always.
experience.
And that's what it takes to do something great.
Did you get any advice from your dad? And if so, what was the best piece of advice?
I'll have to think about that. I get a lot of advice from him. He's a great resource, of course. He introduced us to a lot of our early customers, a lot of the folks that have been either advisors or mentors or a resource in some way, shape, or form. I think the best advice I got from my dad is not anything he said, but just what he shows me on a day-to-day basis. He is a workhorse. He gets up, he gets after it, he makes it happen. And you see that every day of your life. It's inspiring, right? It makes you want to do the same.
What's your take on the future of this kind of hybrid setup? Like you seem to be the innovator in this space, and at least from my knowledge, the only one making a drone that combines the two. Do you suspect, like in the future, and how long in the future would you anticipate having competition?
I think there will be much more hybrid robots to follow. I think there's a couple folks that caught wind of what we're doing in university. We're starting to see a lot more research, a lot of references on my co-founders, original work. So I think it's coming, and I think that's a great thing for the market. I mean, all we're about is bringing robots to places they haven't gone before. Right now, we're taking a very general approach, but you're going to see very, very task specific robots doing very unique things, right? And I just think the more of that there is in the market, the better it is for it.
My eyes have been opened to so much after, hanging out with Don and James, our program chair, and just going to all these events that I go to on the drone side. It's just crazy. Whatever job you don't want to send a person to do or can't send a person to do efficiently, somebody either has a robot or drone that can do it or is developing one, because there's a need, especially in this day and age. So it's a beautiful time to be alive. So.
I think so. It's a great time to be in robotics. I mean, of course, AI is going to work wonders for us. I think most of the robotics community is still unsure of exactly how it's going to play out and what the benefits are going to be, but it's a great time. And I tell you, the folks we talk to, the inspectors whose work we're trying to supplement, these guys, it's not like we're coming in and we're replacing the sole job they have. These are dudes with 20 other things on their plate. This is the worst part of their week or their month or their year. They know they have to go to a dangerous place. their wife knows about this. It's on the calendar. They kiss them goodbye, and it's stressful. And so when we come in and we say, hey, we've got an alternative for you, their ears perk up. They're excited. They say, oh, I can sit behind, outside of that asset and just watch.
Yeah, so you've been a business entrepreneur for a while, and there's that side of things, and then you're also tailored to mechanical engineering and drone building and leadership. And but let's say you grew in the next 5 years and your company just started expanding and you needed people in your business to help this company grow, especially on the technological side. For our students, what type of skill sets would you be looking for that could help benefit your business and move it forward?
I think the best type of students we look for are those guys who have experience outside of their academic studies. We've got a guy on our team who has done battle bots his whole life. Another one of them was doing first robotics competitions. And these guys bring, that other side of it. They know how to do rapid prototyping. And what I mean by that is they know how to make stuff quickly, break things and fix them in the field, right? Like if you have that hands-on capability, whether it's programming in the field, right, tuning in the field, or repairing, or doing things in really short order. All of our timelines are condensed. We push our guys like crazy, and then new things come up today, right? We get a new request for quote. It's due in a week. It's an crazy awesome inspection. It's going to require some changes to the robot, right? Just pivoting like that on a dime and making it happen is, I think it's a really valuable skill set, and it's something every student out there can get.
Awesome.
Even if you're tinkering in your own garage, right? Like find your own projects and just build on your own. That is the best thing you can be doing right now.
Yeah, sometimes the best way to get a job in this field is just to love doing it and just start.
Absolutely.
Well, and then also on the other side of that, the business and marketing side, how are people hearing about you and your technology and what you can do?
I would say a good portion of that is inbound, just from our presence online. But a lot of the work we do is we reach out to folks, and we just send cold emails, LinkedIn messages. Hey, here's what we're doing. We know you have some sort of need for this, and let's talk, right? And so when it relates to getting customers, it's like, hey, let's come out and do a proof of concept. Let's do a pilot, right? Put us alongside whatever other tools you're using, and if we do well, let's talk about the future. If not, let's reassess.
As Christian mentioned, like it seems like for every application, there's getting to be a drone specifically made for it. You feel like that's more of the game changer now? Is that the way to go? Like find your niche, find your specialty you want to stick to, or is it nope? Start broad, start general, and then discover it.
That's a tricky question. I think there's two ways. There's a way to approach it on each end of the spectrum. If you're going problem specific, I think you need to know that problem intimately. You need to know that there's a lot of people who share that problem, right? Because you can spend all day, all year customizing something for one customer who's only going to buy one unit and nobody else wants it, right? But if you know that you're solving a humongous problem, a lot of people share that problem and they're willing to pay, a good price for it. That's a good way to approach it. In our case, I mean, admittedly, we were a solution looking for a problem, right? It was academic research. It was like, hey, this is a great idea. The world needs this, but you know, does this actually apply in practice? And so our approach was broad. It was, we're going to go to every industrial facility. We're going to inspect any asset we think we can access and start to see where our bread and butter is. And admittedly, we're still in that stage. We've definitely tailored. We started with pretty much every industry: agriculture, construction, mining, you name it, right? Public safety. Now we're pretty exclusively focused on what we call confined space inspection. So oil, power, chemicals, those types of industrial facilities.
Yeah. Improving safety, reducing costs always seem to be good motivators for companies. Do you feel like you particularly go after one of those more than the other?
It really depends on who we're talking to, the persona of the guy on site. So if you're an operator, if you're, in the office or you're in the field, odds are you probably care a little bit more about the efficiency. Can I reduce scaffolding? Can I reduce my number of man hours, reduce the cost of downtime, right? The asset being offline. That's usually the primary driver. Of course, safety is still big up there for them. But on the other side, you've got some of the innovative guys, or the HSE, the health, safety, and environment guys. They're first, their highest value prop is always safety. Look, I'm removing your guys from a dangerous space. They don't want to be in there. You don't want them in there. This is good for everybody. So
Yeah,
really,
but I think if you look at history, like some of America's biggest historical figures in engineering, like safety was the trick. Like you look at like Westinghouse, and he made the air brake for the trains. That
Hmm.
was a huge leap forward in innovation. And it was the guys on the trains that were saying, this is a hero. He's changed the game for us. And then it was adopted by the industry, even though some people fought it. So it's interesting to, be able to do both.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great example, and we're fortunate to be able to offer both sides of that. So we definitely lean into it.
Awesome. I know you have some more people on your team. We're missing Sahand, which is your co-founder, and then Leo. Who's Leo and what's his role?
Leo is our chief operating officer. Absolutely anything and everything under the sun. I mean, this guy is just an incredible operator. Everything from our day-to-day finances and payroll and, all that fun stuff to getting out there, being, in front of customers, in front of our partners with the DoD. He really makes things happen and allows me to really just sit back and be a conductor as opposed to being an operator every day as well.
Sure. And then you
Now,
can't forget about your other team member that does all the engineering in the building.
That's right. Yeah, we've got two guys. Our Heron is our controls engineer, so he works on all the software, all the electrical integration. What do we do with the lidar output? How do we teach the drone to behave? And then we've got Nick on the mechanical side, and we've also got Craig, who is a virtual guy on the mechanical side. Doing all the fun stuff, designing and putting it together.
What skills or knowledge like are you guys looking for if you're looking to expand your team?
We're looking for experience primarily right now with LiDAR, so using LiDAR for LIO for localization. We want to be really, really tight, no drift. All the areas we operate are completely GPS denied. You cannot use that for positioning. So that's a big skill set for us right now. On the software side, there's a lot of how do we interpret that data? How do we analyze that and deliver it to the customer? And then, of course, the mechanical side is really just, are you comfortable with building things quickly, not going super deep in the weeds? Can we stay a high level, keep good enough, right? We say don't let perfection get in the way of progress, right? So that really applies to everyone on the team.
what does an average day of like R&D testing and all that stuff look like? Are you guys all together? Are you guys all doing your own thing and then come together? Take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, there's a lot of testing on very specific things. So, a certain design of, I give you an example, the different types of materials for the exoskeleton, different joining methods, right? That may be more of a mechanical thing. Of course, if anyone's got free time, we all love to go play with the robots. But usually when we're getting ready for customers and demos, that's when it's all hands on deck. Everybody's out. We try to get a real field environment to put the robot through its paces because, the old adage, anything that can go wrong will. That is absolutely true. This is why we say two is one, one is none. Always need backups for absolutely everything. But yeah, we just try to see it, try to break it, as much as we think the customer would, so we can be ready for that.
Since you guys are like already full-time operating in a space of innovation, like how do you handle those moments where it's like an aha moment that like that was a good idea? Or like also like how do you shoot down bad ideas? Like how do you know what's what? Like what's your process there?
Honestly, the scope creep is a real thing. And, every engineer on the planet, myself included, is like, oh, this would be cool, right? Oh, it's only a couple hours. Oh, it's only a half day. Like, let's throw it in, right? And the reality is those things compound. They always take longer. And, then you're off schedule. So we have to be really deliberate about what we decide to do and when. We've got bug trackers for things that need fixing. We've got wish lists for stuff we want to put on the future roadmap. Of course, every customer wants something specific to them. So it's always just startup in general is just a constant game of reprioritization.
Do you have a lot of, I guess, obviously you have safety parameters you have to go through, but is there any sort of like FAA compliant stuff you have to fight through? Like what are the battles there in regard to like non-technical, non-business stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we always want to stay appraised on what's going on the regulatory side. The nice thing as the OEM is we don't have to deal a ton with the FAA. That usually falls on the pilots. Right now, we are doing a lot of the piloting and the service providing just because we want to be in the field learning with our customers. So we've got to stay compliant. Everyone's got their Part 107. All of our guys are confined space certified, right? And there's a ton of other different OSHA and ISO requirements that for each unique asset we go to, we've got to get up to date on and get certified to do those things. So Yeah, it's it's sometimes crazy because every asset, every customer is a little bit different. But you do it once and you've got it for a while. So
Yeah,
Did you know
we're
what you were getting
taking
yourself into?
you try to boil the ocean, you realize how much water there is. So it's fun, a lot to learn, and I tell you what, it keeps us excited, man.
yeah, you're taking these drones out to customers, and there's got to be some component of feedback that you value a lot, and I'm sure you've gotten it. And does that help drive your innovation forward? Is getting that feedback from customers?
Yeah, we call it the customer feedback loop, right? It's like we build something, we test it, we want to know their thoughts every single time, and so this is why I think it's so important. It's definitely not scalable to be in the field with every single customer, but right now, the most important thing is learning how are they using this, what do they really care about, what do they need. So yeah, I think an open line of communication. I mean, you hear this from every big business ever, right? Customer, customer, customer.
Yep.
You got to be listening to them. You can't be building something that they don't want.
Are there any customers or industry that you've noticed that are like either demanding more or driving innovation more just by their request of what they want?
Yeah, it seems like the oil industry is definitely far and above the rest. There's a lot of push for innovation, a lot of push for new technology in there. We're also starting to see a lot of regulation about confined spaces. So either internally or in some cases in the Middle East, for example, government regulations saying you need to pull people out of confined spaces. So that certainly helps drive it.
Makes
I
sense.
heard the oil industry has a lot of money, so
Yeah.
they can probably.
They have a bit. They have a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially
But
over
do they
there.
like to spend it is the question.
So far, so good. I will say power is not super far behind, but I think they're a little bit more new to this sort of curve of how things are going. And then chemicals is not huge for us right now, but I think there's a lot of good use cases there that we'll uncover.
So when you mention oil, like I also think like I live in Florida, I'm on the coast. I'm thinking like oil rigs on the water as well. So like you're doing land and air now, like any plans for air and sea?
It's funny, we get that question a lot. So it's like, air and land's not good enough. How about water also? And the answer is absolutely. That's definitely something we intend to do. I don't know what robot comes after the one we've got right now, but again, our goal as a company is to send robots where they haven't been able to go before. So as we uncover, new challenges, which we've got a whole list of them, we'll start to prioritize there.
That's a whole new list once you get water involved.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well,
That's right.
the HMR or Hammer was designed to go into space, right? Is that what they were originally designing it for? Or
That was the original idea, yeah, to go to areas where there's enough atmosphere that you can fly around in. But yeah, it was originally designed to explore for areas for potential human colonization and extraterrestrial life.
Hopefully Disney hasn't seen the hammer because they might want their droid back, you know.
It's funny. I was at a conference last year, and we're actually fortunate to meet some of the guys from Disney, including the guy who designed and built BB-8. So we have a picture with him holding the robot and got his approval to say, yeah, we're BB-8 with wings.
Nice.
that's cool.
That was pretty cool.
Are you going to do a custom BB-8 themed hammer?
We absolutely will. We call the aluminum cage BB-8, and we actually have a carbon fiber cage, which is all blacked out. We call that BB-9, the evil version.
That's kind of cool. Well, I'll have to have you send me some pictures and stuff that we can share on this
Definitely
podcast as well.
happy to do it.
Yeah, there's got to be a large component to creativity in your business, not just the technical know-how, but actually taking a problem and trying to solve it and being creative about it.
We really say everyone's got to be left and right brain. Like
Yeah.
when you're doing pure engineering work, pure product development, that's super focused. But there's so much R&D that it just requires that creativity. You've got to be able to think about it differently and question everything you're doing. Is that the right approach? So it definitely takes both sides.
We talk a lot about trends here on the podcast, and one of the biggest trends, obviously, right now is AI. Do you incorporate AI within what you're building? How does it work, or how do you incorporate it? Take us through
Yeah,
that.
so we're still really early stage, but our goal is not to be so much a robotics company, but more of a data service provider, right? And so we go out, we collect that data, we interpret it, we give you actionable results. And so AI right now, I think the place that's playing the biggest impact is really on interpreting these massive data files, going through, telling us where the defects are, what do our customers care about, when does this thing need repair. Um, but certainly AI is going to play a huge role in the navigation, the autonomy of these systems. So you're starting to see things like Isaac Sim, where you can do, thousands or millions of instances at a time, and teach your robots to do crazy things at a pretty rapid pace. So
Yeah, I was gonna
I
ask,
think
like,
that.
how smart do you think these systems are gonna get in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Man, it's so hard to say. Don't quote me on anything, but I think you're going to see a lot of autonomous systems in the next 5 years. That'll probably be somewhere on the localized autonomy swarm, multiple robots with some supervision. But I think certainly in the next 10 years, we're going to see this global autonomy of different types of robots. You push a button and say, hey, I need, gravity filter X inspected, right? You send a drone, you send a rover, you send one of our robots, and they all work in tandem. They're all completely making their own decisions on where do they go next and why.
All right, so I gotta ask us, in 5, 10 years, if we see swarms of hammers just rolling down Main Street, USA, doing patrols, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully that's a good thing. That is our intent. I mean, everything we do with DoD, for example, is the heavy emphasis on security, right? We want these systems to be safe. We don't want them to be, hacked by folks overseas. So we place a pretty high priority on making sure that these things are safe and people are comfortable with them operating around them.
That's a good point. Like how is life? How does it feel right now to be a U.S. drone manufacturer?
Well, I think it's the right time for it. I mean, of course, everything going on with the administration is boding well for us and other drone manufacturers. I think we're going to see a lot more small UAS and the armed forces. I think this is a good thing. Everyone's talking about the next war is going to be a war of quantity, a war of mass. So, how many of these things can we start producing in the next couple of years is, I think, going to play a really big part in the strength of the U.S.
Yep, in defense, and you see it just becoming part of everyday life, just more and more integrated.
Absolutely, I think so. More and more unmanned systems, and really ramping up the quantity at which we produce these things.
Yeah, so we need help flying them and producing them.
Yep. And engineering them and troubleshooting them.
I think it's going to create a hell of a lot more jobs than it'll take away. That's for sure.
Don, take us through. So, for our current students and even our graduates, what does our program do to help prepare for stuff that Collin has had to deal with throughout his business side, his technology
Yeah.
R&D side?
Well, Colin is real knee deep into the engineering side of things. So we don't teach specifically like CAD programs or engineering programs, but what we do teach is the fundamentals of UAS, so aviation management, design, build, and fly, which from the feedback of the students that I'm teaching that course and they absolutely love that. It's such a hands-on program. They get to take a kit in the mail, they get to assemble the parts, put it together, configure it, fly it autonomously. And that's a huge bread and butter to our program. But we go through aviation management, design, build, and fly. Obviously, the basics, UAS 101, if you know nothing, geospatial intelligence, remote sensing, all of those are taught in our program.
I think that's super important to approach it from different angles. I mean, if you spend your entire life in university learning how to CAD model, you come out with one okay skill set, right? As a university graduate, you come out with multiple okay skill sets. You can build on all of those. And the reality is, as soon as you get in the field, right, you're going to learn a heck of a lot more than anything you did in a lab or in an office. So, I think the important thing is, especially for a startup, big caveat there for smaller, earlier stage companies, the more of a jack of all trades you can be, the better off you're going to be, because none of our guys do one job, right? Every single day is different. They're always working on new stuff. So if you can come in with a nice little toolbox of different skill sets, I think that's going to be quite a bit more helpful than just one skill.
We'll say that building a drone not only teaches you how to build a drone, but how to configure it, how to put it together, how to troubleshoot it, how to fly it, how to create a mission. There's just so many skill sets that you can get from just building a drone. So if this is your hobby and you want to take it to the next level, I mean, you already got a leg up. Yeah, I started years ago building a drone, and when I got to my college programs, I was already, kind of a leg up on everybody. So
Yeah, I think it's really, really awesome what you guys are doing. I was really excited when you asked me to do this. I think this is a huge need. I mean, we need this at scale, right? To inspire and educate the next generation of drone and robotics engineers. So I definitely really, really appreciate what you guys are doing for these students.
So, we've talked a lot about Hammer. Uh, what else does Revolute Robotics do?
Well, right now that's the main focus. I mean, our goal is again, I know I keep saying it, send robots where other robots haven't been able to go. I mean, I view our system as this is a platform to take, sensors you've been using on other types of robots, maybe handheld, just take sensors into new areas. Collect data remotely from a safe location without putting humans in harm's way. Do that a heck of a lot faster and cheaper than existing manned methods. It's all about just getting data from new places. And so, again, I don't know what those next robots will look like, but it's all going to be around this theme of opening up new possibilities for mobile
What
robots.
what all different sensors do you have on Hammer, and then what sensors are you looking at that you don't have yet?
So right now we have 4K visual and we have LiDAR. So we have a pretty robust LiDAR system that's doing great for all sorts of laser scanning and making digital twins, localizing defects. So when we take a picture, we're in a mile long pipe. Every picture looks the same, right? But if you can say here's exactly where in space time that defect occurred, right? Then when you go to dig the pipe up, right, and do that maintenance, it's not a guessing game. So those are the two big ones. We're working on integrating radiation detection and gas detection. Again, just collecting that data without putting a human operator in danger. And then down the road, ultrasonic. So this is the big trend in the drone space right now is, NDT, non-destructive testing, ultrasonic, eddy current. There's a whole bunch of different sensors, but UT is the prevalent one. And that's where we'll be focused next.
All those, what do you rely on the most? I mean, like if like on a day-to-day job, like if one of them goes out, which one are you praying like not this one?
Well, it's got to be the visuals first, right? I mean, of course, we got to see where we're going, and we want to know what the inside of that asset looks like. But lidar is a really really big part of what we do. We'd not be able to fly as stable as we do without that lidar. We wouldn't be able to localize those defects, and we wouldn't be able to build a digital twin with it without it. So those are the two main ones.
what kind of defects can you spot with ultrasonic? Because my brain's got questions too, and
Yeah, it's a thickness measurement. So essentially, it sends a pulse through. In this case, let's say it's a metal pipe, right? It sends a pulse and reads the pulse on its way back. So if there's air bubbles in that pipe, or there's any sort of cracking or corrosion or warping of that pipe, you're going to see that on a scan. It's not going to be a straight line, right? There's going to be some deviation. So that's any sort of basically warping or I guess kind
cracks
of
maybe.
cracking, absolutely, yes. I'm trying to think of the word. It's like aeration when there's bubbles inside of there. That's not the right term, but
How much data are you typically collecting when you go out to do a job, and like how do you handle storing it, going through it, processing it, and then interpreting it, and then showing it to as a final product for a solution?
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's few gigs of video footage. Sometimes it's a couple hundred gigs of lidar data if we've been in the field all day. So yeah, it takes a lot of processing power. It takes a lot of time. This was a much bigger problem 5 years ago and a humongous problem 10 years ago. Today, with the GPUs we're getting, it's not as big of a lift, but there's still quite a bit that goes into all the post processing. Yeah,
Is
everything
there a
we take,
specific
we
software for that you're utilizing?
there's a lot of softwares out there. We're actually figuring out who we'd like to work with at the outset. We do plan to build that software internally in the future, but
I was
there's
like, is that are those applications keeping up with what you're doing? Or are you pulling one along, or is it the other way?
I would say they're a little bit ahead of where robotic capabilities are right now, and I think that's just a function of it's easier to work on that stuff than building the robots that go collect that data. But I think we're about to catch up, and I think what robots are doing might actually exceed the capabilities of the software right now.
Yeah. Have you run into that issue where like you're collecting data that there's just not software available? Or are you looking at, okay, this is what's available. I'm going to go find a a way to adapt to this and build my platform to fit it.
Yeah, it's funny. This market is very novice on the customer side. They're still very new to how this data works. You would be surprised at the number of customers that say, "I don't know what we want." Right? You give me a really nice point cloud. Well, take a screenshot and throw it in a PDF, and I'm never going to look at that point cloud again. So a lot of this, I think, is really educating the customers on what are the capabilities here. How robust do you want this data set to be? And I think the future looks like, how do we integrate that with everything you're doing? This doesn't need to be a one-off inspection that's the files saved in a Google Drive, right? This should be part of a comprehensive software that you're using throughout your facility. And I think we're still a few years away from that.
Yeah, sometimes the customers don't know what they want until you show them what they can get.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And that has been the common theme since we started in 2013. I mean, it is always just a game of education.
Yeah, I mean, and no matter what the job is, the jobs are going to be different applications, but you're always going to have a customer behind it that you're going to have to interact and deal with, and sometimes appease or sometimes over deliver and make sure they're happy with what you're doing.
That's right. Our motto is give them a Ferrari and tell them to ask for a Honda, right? Give them more than they expect and see how they use it.
Are you the customer service guy, Collin? Are you the charmer? You know?
I touch base as much as I can. Leo is definitely the charmer.
We'll have to get Leo on the podcast next time, though.
Oh yeah, he'd love that. Be great.
Man,
Yeah.
ouch.
I'll give you a great example. Like we got called out for an inspection recently, and they're like, "We only want visual data," and I'm like, "Well, definitely, we're going to get you that visual data. It's going to be great, but we're also going to bring out lidar, and give you a digital twin of what the inside of that asset looks like." And we gave that to them, and they're like, "We had no idea this was even a possibility, right?" And now they're already thinking about how they can use that elsewhere. So that's part of the
Yeah.
game.
What kind of file formats would you be delivering that to the client, that data? Is it like a particular, is it just a PDF or like what are they looking for? Like
They
what
go
kind
to
of files
Kinko's
are they
and
looking
get a
for?
little, poster board, put it out there.
Right?
PDF.
It totally depends. Yeah. So I mean, we can give it to them in a lot of different file types, PCD, PLY, but I think right now it's really just a question of what does that look like on a PDF that we can communicate together as a team. But certainly, that software will become comprehensive. They're going to be able to scroll through that point cloud, zoom in on certain areas of interest. You know, that's to come.
Whole nother world out there that I have no clue about. So it's always interesting to have having folks like you on, because it blows my mind what how accurate some of this stuff is when utilizing your robots, your drones, to get all the information you need to keep buildings up, to make sure when you're putting a building together, it just doesn't crumble on the slightest bit of weather, earthquake or something. I don't know. It's just crazy to me. So
It's a lot of fun, man. It keeps us excited. We're always learning. There's always some new technology coming out every couple of months that changes the game. And so, what we live for is we get on site, we show customers something awesome. Their eyes light up, their ears perk up. It's like, this is what it's about. So we have a lot of fun with what we do.
anybody else have any other questions before we start wrapping things up?
I got one, and I wanted to ask this early on. It's more of a simple question. I think I missed my opportunity, but
Hit me.
how instrumental has CAD and 3D printers been in your development process?
Huge part of what we do. I mean, you go back to rapid prototyping. It's like we've got a bunch of 3D printers in the office. We may want to do something out of a different material, but if we can go spec that up, check tolerances, make a few adjustments, change the size, the location of some holes somewhere, you can do that in a day. Whereas in the past, you'd have to outsource, wait a couple days for a delivery, update, wait a couple more days. It's like this stuff happens so fast now. So that's a huge part of what we do. We got a 3D printer that I don't think ever stops running.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
Part of it. Yeah.
Well, we asked your dad this when we did quick fire questions from him. But what's your favorite drone?
Favorite drone? Ours, of course.
Well, other than HAMR,
Oh man. I mean, there's a lot of really badass options out there. I really like the guys from Modal. What they're doing, I think, is great. Honestly, I'll give you a non-conventional answer. When I was really young, my dad bought me a DJI Spark, and that was my first, exposure to flying drones myself. And that thing is like super old now. I think the DJI Mini just absolutely, overshadows it. But man, I still fly that thing, every week or so. I love flying it. It just always keeps me comfortable on the stick. So
Yeah.
that's a fun one for you.
Do you have any drone content like channels or creators you like to watch, or is it like, nope, you're leaving work, I don't want to watch anymore, think about this anymore?
Honestly, when I throw on YouTube before bed, it's usually some sort of engineering principles. I wouldn't say it's always drone specific, but I there's no one that comes to mind that I would call out for anything drone related. I think generally just like being educated on what exists in the world of engineering, what are people thinking about, what is new technology. That's what's exciting, and that doing things that aren't exclusively drone related. I think it helps when you come back to the drone stuff on applying this in creative ways.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll add on to your point. I agree. There's limited drone content on YouTube, especially for like these applications. A lot of it is all FPV, but for like field specific, industry specific, there's not much content out there.
Yeah, I think the FPV is really driving a lot of this, hobbyist stuff and guys wanting to get into the drone field and get educated on it. I think FPV is really great for our industry. I've always said the FPV pilots are always the best because they're doing the craziest stuff. So we give them the sticks, we tell them go really, really slow. It's like this is just a cakewalk for them. So
Right.
I think we want to see the FPV world explode. We want to see more action from them, and I think that's just going to help drive forward everything we're doing in the industry.
I know, Don, you feel the same way, right? You're our
Yeah,
FPV
it's been a
pilot.
minute since I've flown mine though. It's been a little bit, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's what kept me in the game for a while is just going out and flying every weekend. Yeah.
big shout out to this guy here. I mean, he was working with my dad for a long time, and my dad would always say this guy is just a wizard, works magic. We get outside on site, drone doesn't work at all. We got a customer breathing down our neck, and boop boop boop. Oh, look at that! It flies beautifully. We started asking him for a little work, and he's been amazing on everything from designing things, cleaning up the wiring, actually like doing some of the flight control. That's you're amazing, Don, and I think it speaks to like the value of doing this FPV stuff, being a jack of all trades, tinkering on your own time. Like that's why it's so valuable.
Yeah, I
I think we
appreciate
got your new title, Don. Drone wizard. We'll
Drone
get you a
wizard, baby.
hat.
No.
We'll have you grow your beard out a little bit longer.
Well, it's there's a lot of gray going on, so
I'm better.
I
We
tried. It doesn't look good.
Don the
Doesn't look
Like
good
Gray.
a
at all.
It
Merlin or
fits
a
the Papa
Gandalf.
look.
Yeah. Well, Colin,
Love it.
where can folks find you, keep up with you? Socials, website. Do you do anything on YouTube?
We
Whatever
do.
you want to talk about. Sell yourself right here. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, the website will give you everything you need to know about the robot, revoluterobotics.com. We do have a small social media presence on Instagram. I don't think we posted there much recently. We do have a good YouTube page, and our LinkedIn is pretty active. So you'll stay up to date with everything we've got going on. And as we get permissions to start releasing footage of these tests, I think our YouTube is going to be pretty active with going in some really cool places.
Yeah, and you
So
got to be
stay
careful.
tuned.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I was just gonna say that you got to be careful because you're in the innovation space, so you don't want to leak out your secrets to everybody else and have them follow right behind you.
It's a fine balance for sure, but generally speaking, I think the sharing of information is good for the industry. So we try to push forward what we can. We try to be involved in academia and STEM where we can, but of course, keeping those trade secrets close to heart.
Have you ever seen U.S. drone soccer?
I have not watched it. I have seen some clips of this. I think it's awesome. I would love. We always joke. I want an obstacle course, a FPV or drone soccer mashup of HAMR robots flying around, crashing into each other, driving off ramps and through pipes and things. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be so cool?
It'll be like the Monster Jam of the drone world.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, maybe after our next few funding rounds, that's something we could set up. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast today. It is a huge wealth of knowledge and help for our students here who are looking to see what they can do once they build that foundation here at SDI. So for more information on our UAS programs, go to sdi.edu today, hit request information, talk to the people, read the things, look at the numbers. But for Steve and Don, Colin, thank you. This has been The Flight Path. Everybody say bye.
Bye
Been a
bye.
pleasure, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you for what you're doing for this industry. And if I can be a resource to any of your students, please don't hesitate to reach out.